Learning Objectives. After completing this module, learners will be able to describe the changes made by East India Company, discuss the trade in Bengal, recall how the trade led to battle, explain the Battle of Plassey, explain the Battle of Buxar, describe how company officials became nabobs, recall the Doctrine of Lapse. East India Company. The last powerful Mughal ruler was Aurangzeb. A very large part of the territory was under the control of Aurangzeb, that is now known as India. In 1707, after the death of Aurangzeb, many Mughal governors, sub-orders and zamindars declared their control and established regional kingdoms. East India Company comes east. In 1600, the ruler of England, Queen Elizabeth I, passed a charter which permitted only the East India Company with all the right to trade with the East. Thus, no other trading group in England could compete with the East India Company. The charter allowed the company to go across the areas in search of new land, from where they bought goods at a cheap price and carried them to Europe for selling at a high price. In 1498, Vasco da Gama, a Portuguese explorer, discovered the sea route to India. By 17th century, the Dutch, followed by the French, explored all possibilities of trade in the Indian Ocean. Problems faced by European countries while trading in India. All the companies showed interest in buying the same things, which were cotton, silk and spices. Competition between European countries resulted in the rise of prices of these goods, which reduced the profit earned by the companies. The only way for the growth of trading companies was by elimination of the rival companies. In order to establish control on trade, the companies attacked each other by blocking routes, preventing ships from moving, by fortifying trading posts, etc. East India Company begins trade. Company trade in Bengal. In 1651, the first English factory was established by company on the banks of Hooghly River. Towards 1696, company started building a fort around the settlement. After 2 years, Mughal officials were bribed to give zamindari rights of 3 villages to the company. Mughal European Aurangzeb was forced to issue a royal order called Farman for granting the company the rights to trade duty-free. The company tried to press for more concessions and manipulate existing privileges. After the death of Aurangzeb, the Bengal Nawabs declared their power and autonomy. The Nawabs of Bengal refused to grant the concessions to the company. This led to the culmination of the famous Battle of Plassey. The battle took place at Plassey, 150 kilometers north of Calcutta, on 23 June 1757. Between Siraj-ud-Daulah, the Nawab of Bengal, and the British East India Company. The battle was a decisive victory of the British. When Ali Vardi Khan, grandfather of Siraj-ud-Dowla, became the Nawab of Bengal, he took stricter actions against the company. When Siraj succeeded Ali Vardi Khan as the Nawab, he ordered the company to stop their fortification activities since they didn't have the permission to do so, but the company carried on their fortification. This led the Nawab to attack the British station in Calcutta, in which they were beaten by Nawab's 30,000 soldiers. Calcutta was occupied by the Nawab's forces in June 1756. When this news reached Madras, troops were sent by Robert Clive to win back the Bengal establishment of the British. Calcutta was recaptured in January 1757. On 23 June 1757, Robert Clive's forces won the Great Battle of Plassey, fought against the Nawab of Bengal. The Nawab complains. When Mir Jafar started protesting against the company replaced him with Mir Qasim. In 1764, at Buxar in Bengal, Mir Qasim was defeated in battle. Every month, Nawab had to pay 500,000 rupees to company, while the company needed more money to maintain its finance for wars and fulfill the demands of trade. At that time, company wanted more collection of money as revenue from territories. After the death of Mir Jafar, Clive decided to work as Nawab by seeing the puppet work of Nawab. In 1765, at Bengal, the company was appointed as Diwan by the Mughal Emperor of the provinces of Bengal. This led company to utilize more revenue and resource of the Indian territories of Bengal. Company's officials had more power, authorities, and resources to maintain its finances and demands. In 1743, at the age of 18, Robert Clive for the first time visited Madras. After ruling as Nawab in 1767, when he was about to leave India, his total worth was £401.102. In 1764, he was appointed as the Governor of Bengal. This time, he was assigned to vanish corruption from the company internal network. In 1772, he himself was cross-examined for having huge wealth by the British Parliament. In 1774, he committed suicide. The British who saved all their wealth are denoted as Nabobs, as an anglicized version of the Indian word Nawab. Company rule expands. From 1757 to 1857, the East India Company had sympathy toward the Indian states. The company used political, economic, and diplomatic method instead of directly attacking any unfamiliar territory. By doing this, the company gained more power towards Indian territory. In 1764, the company started making agents. The agents' main work was to deal with all the internal affairs between the territory and the company. From 1798 to 1805, Richard Wellesley was the Governor-General. In 1801, the company forced the Nawab of Awadh to give over half of the territory to the company, because he was not able to pay the subsidiary forces. Hyderabad also faced the same thing because of similar reasons. From 1761 to 1782, Mysore strengthened its power by having powerful leader like Hyder Ali, and after him his well-known son Tipu Sultan, who ruled from 1782 to 1799. The company's supply of pepper, cardamom, and sandalwood from the Malabar coast was stopped by the order of Tipu Sultan. In 1785, the entire local shopkeeper, traders, were told not to trade with the company. After fighting 4 years' wars with Mysore, the company in 1799 won the Battle of Seringapatam. The 4 war years were 1767 to 69, 1780 to 84, 1790 to 92, and 1799. In 1799, in the Battle of Seringapatam, Tipu Sultan was killed in protecting his capital home, Seringapatam. Wodeyars took over the ruling responsibility of Mysore after the Sultan's rule. Wodeyars were trusted alliance for the company. War with the Marathas. In late 18th century, the main work of the company was to weaken the powers of Marathas. The company accomplished its first victory after fighting 2 battles with Marathas. The third battle was fought at Panipat in 1761. The Marathas had one big main dream of ruling from Delhi, which was broken after their defeat in Battle of Panipat. Their territory was divided into different chiefs of different community and religions into Sindhia, Holkar, Gaikwad and Bhosle. Different chief had Peshwas under them as principal minister, who were given control over military and were made administrative head in Pune. The Marathas were defeated by the company because of no clear victory in any battle. The first battle ended in 1782 with the Treaty of Salbai. The Second Anglo-Maratha War, 1803-5, resulted in losing of most of the northern part of Yamuna River like Agra, Delhi and Major Orissa. Third Anglo-Marathas War, 1817-19, vanished all the Maratha power. The Peshwa of the territory was removed and sent to Bithur near Kanpur with a grant of pension. The claim to paramountcy. Governor-General Lord Hastings started a new policy on paramountcy. In 1824, Rani Channamma got arrested for leading an anti-British resistance movement in the small state of Kittur. After arrest of Rani, a poor chowkidar of Sangoli carried out the anti-British resistance movement in Kittur. In 1830, he was caught and hanged by the British for destroying many camps and records of British government. In the late 1830s, the British fought with Afghanistan for establishing the Northwest control by indirect company rule to secure our northwest border from Russia. After the death of Maharaja Ranjit Singh in 1839, they annexed Punjab by 1849. The Doctrine of Lapse. The Doctrine of Lapse. In 1848 to 1856, Governor-General Lord Dalhousie came up with a policy known as Doctrine of Lapse. According to this policy, if any ruler died without any son or male heir, the territory becomes a part of the company. Doctrine of Lapse resulted in loss of many Indian kingdoms like Satara, 1848, Samabhalpur, 1850. Udaipur, 1852. Nagpur, 1853. Jhansi, 1854. In 1856, Awadh was also taken in the company territory. After the end of Nawabs, a revolt broke out in 1857. A group of 11 Pandits in 1775 were called up for making the summary of Dharmashastra, which results different interpretations. In 1778, a code of Muslim laws was also summarized in English, which was judged by the European judges. In 1773, a new Supreme Court was established. It is also known as Sadar Nizamat Adalat in Calcutta. Setting up a new administration. From 1773 to 1785, Governor-General Warren Hastings played a major role in spreading the company territory and power. The company had established the power not only in Bengal but also in Bombay and Madras. The British Administration Work Unit was known as Presidencies, and the three presidencies in India were Bengal, Madras, and Bombay. Warren Hastings reformed and introduced a collectible sphere of rules. A new justice system was established in 1772. According to this system, courts were divided into Fauzdari Court, a criminal court; a civil court, a Diwani court; the company army. The company army changed the horse cloak to the cavalry requirements because during that time the company's army was fighting in Burma. The army used different tools like muskets and matchlocks for the wars. Mughal army mainly had sawars, soldiers on the horseback, and the infantry, that is, pedal troops. A military culture began in the early of 19th century. The military soldiers learned different trainings like European-style trainings, drills, and discipline. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learned. In 1600, Royal Charter granted to East India Company, granting the sole right to trade with the East. East India Company bought goods at a cheap price and sold them at a higher price in Europe. Cotton and silk produced in India had a big market in Europe. In 1651, the first English factory was set up on the banks of River Hooghly. Aurangzeb issued a farman granting the company the right to trade duty-free. On 23rd June 1757, Battle of Plassey was fought and was the first major victory of English in India. Alivardi Khan died in 1756 and Siraj-ud-Daulah became the Nawab of Bengal. In 1757, Robert Clive led the company's army against Siraj-ud-Daulah at Plassey. In 1764, the Battle of Buxar was fought between Britishers and Mir Qasim. In 1765, the Mughal Emperor appointed the company as the Diwan of the provinces of Bengal. The process of annexation of Indian states by the East India Company from 1757 to 1857 brought forth some key aspects, like the company rarely launched a direct military attack on as unknown territory. Tipu Sultan ruled Mysore from 1782 to 1799. 4 wars